Good afternoon and welcome to the Gary Goff Show here on WTTF Cool FM 93.3 and WTTF.com. And hello to our listeners on our YouTube channel as well. My name is Russ Snyder, host of Tiffin University's Coach Gary Goff Show. Coach, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you, Russ?
I'm doing excellent. This is last time to talk for, about 4 months before we get back into the fall campaign.
Fall camp. You're
so
right.
This past Saturday was the spring game, and weather didn't really cooperate for the word spring, but I'll tell you what, there was a good crowd there. A lot of parents, a lot of family. It looks like some recruits came in, so the support was there considering the weather wasn't all that great.
Yeah, we had a nice event there, and people keep telling me, hey, if you don't like the weather in Ohio, just wait about 10 minutes, it'll change.
That's all it's going to take.
It's been doing that all spring, and
uh-huh.
I think we utilized the indoor facility, for 7 workouts because of rain or high winds or whatnot. But Saturday was a lot of fun. It was a little chilly, but it warmed up pretty fast, and we had a great crowd. So.
And they were also coming to you again for the Heminger Center for the second time. Our last show we did before the spring game, we were in the coach's meeting office, and this week we're going to try it from coach's office. As you can see directly behind us, the indoor practice facility here at the Heminger Center. Across the way, I guess, behind you as you'd be watching, this is where the track and field facility is. So welcome back into the Heminger Center, one of the gems here on Tiffin University campus. And we're in Coach Gary Goff's office here as we review this past spring game and give you a little look forward to the fall campaign. So, Coach, let's talk about this spring game. First segment, let's talk about the first half. First thing you wanted to do is make sure that the offense was a little bit difficult for those kids out there.
Well, always, offensively, we want to be able to attack and play from behind and be used to playing the next play. We preach that quite a bit to our guys, and don't worry about the scoreboard. Just worry about the next play. I don't care if it's a great play or a bad play. Just worry about doing your job on the next play. So we liked in the spring to put them in a position where they got to come from behind. And we did that. What we did with the green team, we spotted them 14 points. They also got points for stops. They got points for turnovers on our end of the field or on their end of the field. I was probably a little too lenient with Coach Durr right there, by giving him that many ways to score because I tell you what, our defense did a phenomenal job all spring, and they showed up and proved that to everybody, their Saturday for the spring game. But, offensively, we're missing our 2 starting tackles to injury. One had a concussion, the other one's got an injury that he's got to get repaired, and we should have back and ready for the spring game for the season. He did miss the spring game, and then our 2 running backs. 2 running backs who started for us last year, James Hall and Dominique White, also set out in the spring, so we could have them back in the fall. So, and then throw on top of that 3 quarterbacks that have not taken a snap for Tiffin University yet, and they had to have an uphill battle. But that's exactly what the situation I want to put them in. They got to be used to adversity and overcoming adversity in a football game. So.
Yeah, you were very lenient with Coach Durr as he was able to. His defense was able to rack up some points, but the defense, since you've been here, it's been a steadily improvement. I mean, the last couple of years, it seemed like your offense had to outscore some folks, but things we saw in the spring game I thought was some pretty good sure tackling from the defense. Right. Some good hard hitting was coming out of that defense as well, and they were causing the ball to hit the ground a couple of times. It didn't seem like a lot of people was out of place very often, so you had to be fairly pleased with your defense.
I'm extremely excited about that side of the ball. We've got 10 returning starters back on that side of the football. So like anything, a second year in the scheme, you can add more. They're going to be more comfortable. They understand the terminology. And I think that's what you saw spring on our defense, and you saw Coach Durr, he did a lot more stuff this spring, and he's able to add on top of what we did last year. But I tell you what, our secondary is one area that really stood out to me all spring. With Stephon Willis and Brandon Purse, and we'll get into a little bit more about those 2 later. But, I really think the secondary is the biggest improvement, from a year ago. And up front, the defensive line, we've had some guys step up in that as well. But, we're adding 7 guys that we just signed in that position. Exactly. Yeah. So I think defense is only going to be better once fall camp gets here because we're going to add a lot more depth up front, and that's where it all starts, is up front.
Well, the depth on the line was definitely an advantage to the defense in that ball game. We got 6 active offensive linemen, I believe, for the game, with some kids holding out and our kids sitting out with this, and defense just about a full complement. So the defense definitely had the advantage as far as energy levels and being fresh, being able to rotate in there against your offensive line.
Yeah, most definitely. The offensive line is a position where they never get many accolades, and they're always probably coached the hardest and critiqued the most. And it was tough. That last week of spring, we had those other 2 injuries, so we went from 8 offensive linemen down to 6 real fast. But again, we had Gage Gorman set out this spring. Mitch Marshall sat out this spring. So in the fall, I'm not worried about that position. I think on the offense side of the ball, that could be the position that we've got the most experience at, and probably depth once we get here in the fall, because we'll have about 14 offensive linemen on scholarship, not to mention some of the preferred walk-ons we have coming in.
Now, how did you set up the spring game here? Did you plan on playing all the ones together, the twos together, the threes together? Did you just rotate them around? How did you set that up?
We rotated around a little bit. I mean, we had 4 quarters that we played, but more importantly, it was kind of a controlled scrimmage. I wanted to get. You get to this point, you want to get out of the spring game with no injuries.
Yes.
Let's start focusing on the fall. We did.
Yes.
Knock on wood, we had no injuries in the spring game. So, we broke it into series, and we went ones on ones for a couple of series, ones versus twos, threes versus threes, threes versus twos. We pretty much mixed that up for about 85 plays.
Okay.
And put them in different situations. So, the good thing about spring is we get to kind of control the setup out there, and I even told one of the officials, hey, I get to throw the flags today.
No doubt.
You. No, but we get to kind of control that, and the reason we want to do that is put our guys in situations that we can see how they're going to respond to. How are they going to act when they're backed up?
Sure.
It's 3rd and 15, and you're on the -3. How's the defense going to act when it's hey, 1st and goal from the 1? So we want to put in that spring game was about that as well.
Okay. Well, the white was the offense, the green was the defense, and in that first half, boy, the green, as you said, they came out swinging there. They really came out playing hard, forcing punts and forcing turnovers there in the first half, which I'm sure you were happy to see on the defensive side at least.
Definitely, most definitely. I mean, that's one area that me and Coach Durr both preach to the team about is, we've got to create turnovers. Got to create turnovers, and we got to protect the football. And Saturday we created turnovers, and the offense didn't do a very good job of hanging on to the ball, but. Really what we came out there, the first within the first 4 series, the defense had put up 2 stops and caused a turnover, and which set up another score. So, it was good to see defense fly around with the momentum. We spoke to them a lot about you can't start off slow.
Yeah.
You can't come out in a ball game and the first quarter or 2 you're just kind of going through the motions, because you could look up and you could be down by, 3 or 4 touchdowns right off the bat.
Absolutely.
So very good to see the defense come out there and decide, all right, hey, we're not going to wait for the first hit. We're going to take it to them, and that's exactly what they did. I think after that, the first few series you saw the likes of the quarterbacks, Tony Shedd, a few of the guys trying to do a little too much too soon.
Yeah.
A little bit of that first game jitters.
Yeah.
Good to get that out of their system, I hope, in a spring football game.
Well, one guy who really played well on the defensive side of the ball in the first half of the spring game, we thought, was Keith Butts.
Keith Butts created the first turnover right there. He pursued. Kind of the running back was on a little bit of an ISO play right there and bounced it out. Keith Butts fell back into the tackle, but as he was doing that, he came from behind and stripped the ball, which is great to see. You love seeing guys that are going for the tackle, but they're also going for the football to create those turnovers. And, it's something right there. Ortiz, who's one of our better players, has done a good job protecting the football in the past. He thought he was kind of out in the open and looking to make a cut. And sometimes when running backs and receivers do that, the ball separates from their body.
Yep.
That's what you cannot have, and that's a coaching point we always stress, is keeping that ball.
Now, when you talk about Keith Butts, he said he was blocked on that play, and then he was able to catch him from behind. Is that a good teaching point for you and your defense to show their kids, hey, never stop, never give up on a play? Look what happened here. He made a turnover by hustling from behind to the
Well, that's why we do the pursuit drill every day.
Yeah.
And the kids hate that drill when we're doing it, because we're on them and they're sprinting from backside all the way to the opposite end, but it's part of the game.
Absolutely.
It's a big part of the game. And, you got a guy like that who's not giving up on the play and comes from behind and creates a turnover. That could change the outcome of a game.
Absolutely.
And Keith Butts is somebody we're very excited about. He was an outside linebacker a year ago, put on a lot of size and weight in the offseason, and we put him down to that rush in position, and he's done a great job in the spring.
Well, offensively, a running back who I thought was played probably as well as anybody on the offensive side was Torian Nicholson in the first half. He played really well.
Yeah, Torian is he's going to be a senior for us. The young man can lift the weight room. I mean,
he looks strong running the ball. That's for sure.
Is real strong. The previous 2 years he's been more of that fullback type position for us. But, he proved to us this spring that we can give him the football. And, he's the one who kind of got the offense going there in that first half. He put together some really nice runs that put together a nice drive for us with Tyler Irwin right there in the ball game. And, we're going to have to lean on our running backs a little bit until our quarterbacks calm down and learn how to play the game some. So
yeah, Irwin, I believe, was the second quarterback into the game for you on Saturday. And he did have the team driving down there before he threw an interception down there in the red zone. And interceptions will kill you anywhere, but boy, when you're in a scoring chance, That's double whammy.
That was a sign of youth right there, if I've ever seen it. We had a great drive going. He got us down to the red zone right there. And, it was on first down, too. And he tries to force the ball across the middle when, I told him after that, son, if there's nowhere to go with the football, throw it out of bounds.
Exactly.
Live to play the next play.
That's the same exact words we used in the press box. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, because you get down the red zone, you've got to come away with that drive with points. And yes, we all want the 7 on the board. But you know what? We'll take 3. As long as you're scoring at the end of every drive, you're in great shape. And, he knew it when he let go of the ball. He was trying to make too much happen right there. He tried to squeeze it in. And, Trey Scott, who's a redshirt freshman for us, stepped in and picked it off and made a great play right there in the end zone. And, that's one of those bittersweet things right there in a spring game. The offensive-minded coach in me is very upset that you can't force the ball over the middle, especially down that area of the field, because there's not enough room to separate the safeties.
Sure.
And from a head coach perspective, you're excited. Hey, defense found a way to get the turnover right there in the end zone and keep the offense off the scoreboard.
Well, is it hard with a young quarterback to get them into that mentality of that live to play another game, get rid of the ball? You don't have to force it in there for a touchdown every play?
I'd say yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, it is difficult, and it's almost like one of those things where, your kid's got to touch the hot stove to really believe it's hot, and you should never do that again. And it's like that a little bit with young quarterbacks. I mean, they got to make some of those mistakes sometimes to understand. Okay, I can't do that. Coach is right. I can't think I've got the John Elway arm and squeeze it into a small window. So.
Well, when you got done with the first 2 quarters of play of the spring game, what was your thoughts initially? What were the positives you were taking out of that first half, as well as the negatives?
Well, I think the positives right there in that first half was the defense was flying around. They were making open field tackles. I was on a couple of receivers hard because they caught the ball in space and didn't get any yards afterwards. But, Wayne Storrs, the guy who comes to mind right there, who made
he was marked in my roster. He played really well.
He is, and he made 2 great open field tackles right there in front of me on our sideline. So I felt good about the defense flying around. There was some heavy hitting going on. I didn't feel really good as far as from the offense standpoint of us protecting the football. And especially early in a football game and early in the season. Hey, it's okay if we got to line up and punt it here and there. Now I'm not going to be happy about that. I want to sustain drives, move the chains, get points, and win the field position battle. But don't force the football and protect the football high and tight. Turnovers are the number 1 leading cause to losses.
Absolutely.
And if you look at the stats, I don't care at what level, NFL, high school, college, Pee-wee football, does not matter. If you look at the turnover stats, that usually will tell you who's won the game.
Absolutely. Give a team, especially a good team, most of the teams in the GLIAC are a short field, and you're really playing with fire. Absolutely.
Sure.
All right, well, let's step aside and take a break here after our look at the first half of the spring game. We'll come back and take a look at the second half momentarily. Let's take our sponsors first. Our sponsors for today's program include Tiffin Ace Hardware, the Animal Hospital of Tiffin, CF Professionals Incorporated, Gary Gruce's office, the Ohio Mutual Insurance Group, Jim Kennedy's office, State Farm Insurance, Ed Lape's office, and Steyer Seeds. We'll be back with the second segment of the Gary Goff Show. Look at half number 2 from the spring game on this past Saturday. You're listening to WTTF Cool FM 93.3 and WTTF.com.